excited to be here. My name is Nana again, and I'm from Asoriba, where we're providing technology to about 520 million African Christians. Now, the church has been around for a long time and plays a central role in the lives of many people. But it has a couple of problems to try to solve. First of all, you find that the pastor can't tell who is coming to church often, or the numerous reports from the branches he needs to make decisions. In addition, congregation size tends to be very large, and it's not easy for the pastor to engage with his members easily. But you'll be amazed that these big churches tend to still use notebooks to record their finances. But the most interesting of them all is the a lot of money is spent in creating banners and posters just to create awareness about their events. And this is very expensive. These 4 problems is what we try to solve in Asoriba. And how do we solve it? We provide the church with a web-based church management tool that allows it to effectively run its church activities, and also a mobile app for the members to stay connected to the pastors, receive things like devotionals, announcements, and give them the ability to pay their tithes and offerings back to the church. And this is how we solve the problem in Asoriba. Now, this market is worth over $1 billion, but when we consider churches with administrators who are a bit tech savvy, we're looking at about $316 million market. Once again, when we zero it down to places where they have internet, the churches have computers and can actually use our application because they're actually active, you're looking at about $190 million market. And with these churches, they tend to be in urban cities, Accra, Lagos, and so on. And very often, they tend to have congregation size between 10,000 to 100,000 plus. Now, this looks very exciting, so there must be players in it, yes. In Scandinavia, you have church decks with about 1 million members, rose 1 million recently. You have in US, Realm has been around for 30 years plus. And in Africa, you have things like church decks, church plus in Nigeria. You have church office here in Ghana. But we think the biggest competitor in this space is Excel. Why? Everybody uses it. So that's why Asoriba is very unique. What Asoriba does is that it makes it very easy for any church to hit the ground running using technology. In addition, the church has a mobile app for all its members on signing up. But the real power of Asoriba is the ability for all the branches of that church to be integrated into one application, making it easy for that pastor to manage all his churches globally. Now, the exciting thing we are doing in Asoriba is that since January, when we started building this application and registered in May, we went to market in June. And September, we had over 5,000 members in our system. Now in October, when we just stepped into November, we have over 15,000 people on Asoriba. And this is growing tremendously. You know, the most exciting thing is that we have strategic partners, Uganda and Kenya, and it's so exciting for us. So then why are we here? We're here to raise $100,000 just to expand this business into markets where our partners are not taking us. Because we want to grow very fast. We know there's a big opportunity and we want to be the go-to app for all churches in Africa. In addition, we understand that this church space is very unique. But the beauty about the co-founders makes us the right team to execute it. Myself, my dad's a pastor, I'm a pastor in training. So is my co-founder, Xavier, who is our Chief Product Officer. And then Patrick, our CTO, was building a similar application for his church before we met in Meltwater. But the most interesting of it all is Jesse, whose parents are very staunch Catholics. And he happens to be our mobile Chief Product Officer for mobile. So clearly the team actually understands this space, we have the passion and the drive to it. But you see, what excites me about Asoriba is the power that we put into the hands of influencers. Pastors who, let's say in the case of Ebola, want to tell their millions of congregation how to take care of themselves. All he has to do is create a video or audio on SMS and blast it through the Asoriba, and many of these members will get this information in their hands. And that's the actual power we are giving out there using the key influencers in society. So today, I'd like you to join me, take Asoriba global, and make it possible for every Christian, the 520 million Christians in Africa, to be able to stay connected to their church anywhere and at any time. Thank you very much.
So, 5 minutes of questions.
How did you determine your total addressable market? You mentioned some numbers, they're just millions.
It's 520 million African Christians. And when you take this total number, we made a top-down approach where we assume that, let's say 60% of them are just based on statistics, they are really not in church. So we took that number out and looked at that 40%. And in this 40%, we assume that on an average, the churches has an average of 200 members in that church. And based on our cost per the software, which is priced actually per the member, because you're serving every single member in there through SMS to the database, you arrived at that total addressable market number.
What is their pattern so far? How many, you said you have 5,000, 15,000, how many messages have been exchanged? How many replies are being actually there. So what is the level of engagement of the users so far, even if we know that it's the first 15,000?
Now, what you see is that a church will already have a Facebook page, sending messages on Facebook. We'll have a WhatsApp group, sending messages on WhatsApp. So what we find is that instantly when the members come in, they are doing two things. They are sending SMS for the members who don't have smartphone. And on the mobile app, those who have smartphone, they are sending lots of push notifications because it costs them nothing. So the level of engagement on the web and the mobile is pretty high. And what we are now pushing for them to do is to encourage more members to go smart. Because you know, smartphone penetration is not just like mobile phone penetration. So you find a lot of engagement on the SMS which they are using on. And we are now trying to drive more of the push notification because that is free and that is rich content. Yeah.
I'm on WhatsApp. You have several WhatsApp groups. You belong to each group, different groups, and you get different WhatsApp messages every single day. Sometimes you wake up, you have like 500 messages from one group because there's a discussion going on while you're sleeping. With Asoriba, if your pastor or a church member is going to be responsible to sending messages out to a congregation of 500, 1,000 members, and they all respond, how is that going to look on your phone, battery life, all of that?
So, Asoriba, okay, great, that's Jesse, he's in charge of mobile. So you do a good job, but let me answer. Asoriba is not a chat app, it's your church app. Okay, and in church, if you agree with me, it's a top-down approach. Message is delivered. So typically, you can still stick to WhatsApp for a chat application, but what Asoriba does is that it gives the group leaders, the 3 groups you are in, the leaders, the ability to actually send you messages directly to you, that you can actually know what it is that they want you to do, because these messages often tend to call for an action. But in the chat app, it's that you have your old school, your union, your church, and so on and so forth. But in Asoriba, specific messages from the churches, which are often top-down and require activities to be done, like maybe there's a fasting, there's a prayer, there's a meeting coming on. So on there, what you do is that the best two-way example you can get on Asoriba is when probably you're commenting against a devotional. But typically it's a top-down approach, so you won't be seeing yourself being flooded with so much messages from Asoriba. At most, a daily devotional and maybe an announcement for the upcoming events that probably you are supposed to be part because you're in the group. Do I make it?
So you're saying that there is no response?
The response you get is on the devotional side where you can comment against a devotional. And that is a little bit close to your chat, but you won't call it chat. Because of the nature of the church and how it's structured.
Sorry about me. And do we need to go to church to invest? Does Asoriba have, is there a user, is there like an admin generated content that is now available for users on your platform? So do you have Asoriba curators who are coming up with religious content to engage? Because the key thing for this is engagement, right? So how do you plan to do that?
So there are 2 forms of content creation. First, for the church itself, to create its own content and send to the members. And just I think about a month ago, we worked on a portion where if the church is, lazy and doesn't want to send its own devotional, you can just check and say, okay, I want the default Asoriba devotionals to go, or the default Asoriba events to go. And then it comes from the content we are creating and it goes. And in addition to that, we are actually going to create an app which is non-denominational, that any Christian can follow any pastor you want. Maybe you can follow TD Jakes in US or like you would know in Ghana. And in there, you will just be getting content from all of them, which is being pushed from their main Asoriba app to their members, and you can get in the app. And on that platform, we will monetize through advertisements. But you can't do that on the main Asoriba app because as a church, it's a closed community, so they are paying. That's why you don't monetize. So that's how we are actually dealing with the content. And Asoriba simply means church member. It's literally translated as church child, but means church member. So you can say church member or Asoriba.
You forgot the other question.
Yeah. Do you have to be Christian to invest?
No, go to church.
You have to go to church
to invest.
Do you have to go to church to invest? Do you have to go to church to invest? No, you don't have to go to church to invest.
Round of applause for